Hello and welcome to Vibes Fitness channel. In this video we're going to be speaking about the issues of weight loss and a lot of the myths behind it, and also the mainstream sort of nonsense that is spoken within this domain, and how it's treated, and how things are sorted in the mainstream, and the issues that come with that. So, firstly, we need to get into the deepness of this issue. So, fat loss. So when people talk about fat loss, they speak about lose weight, count your calories. Every little calorie counts within the body. However, people tend to miss, just drop my pen. People tend to miss a lot of the nuances of this issue with calorie counting. And the issues are, so the first issue, one being within this calorie counting issue, is that when you, it doesn't take into account when just reducing your calories does not take into account the hormonal state of your body and the state of your body to begin with. Does not take into account the issue there. So firstly, if you have a underlying thyroid issue underlying, and then you try to just count calories and then lose weight in that way, what happens is that your body can process calories from the fat tissue in your body, from the muscle tissue and the bone tissue and anything that's made out of protein. So the lining of your GI tract can be converted into energy and used for your body to run off because you're not providing that energy. So anything can be used, and when these hormones are out of date, are not balanced and should be as they are in a normal way, what happens is the body will burn through these amino acids within yourself. So that could be within the gums, the skin, the GI tract. Just it can be from anywhere that's made out of protein. So people don't take into account that your tissues you're not just made out of fat and you burn fat. Your body can burn the protein that you are made out of, and people don't take into account. So you might be able to lose a lot of weight, but that weight might be a lot of protein, structural tissue that you need. So we want to burn the fat, and if the hormones are off, then the body will just burn anything. It'll go to protein because it takes up a lot of energy to maintain the muscles, and the body wants to keep onto the fat, because if you're starving out in the wild, your body wants to keep the fat because that's where the vitamins are and stuff within your fat tissues from what you eat. So the body wants to keep that. So it's about getting the hormones right and correcting insulin resistance and estrogen dominance and other hormonal issues, because there's a lot of hormonal endocrine disruptors in the environment nowadays. So number two, yes, it's more than just calories. So let's say number two, it's going to be insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is a big issue. So typically what's explained in most videos is that insulin resistance, you eat too much sugar and carbs, and if you just reduce the sugar and carbs, you'll be able to correct the insulin resistance. However, there's more nuances to this issue that is so prevalent nowadays. So one of the nuances, so insulin resistance, say you got high blood sugar, you're eating loads of carbs, it's part of the problem. You're eating a lot of starches, high, and you're low in fat. What happens is, over time with these blood sugar spikes, the insulin doesn't work as well. So the fat tree needs to produce more insulin. So pretend like your normal rate would be £1 of insulin to manage that amount of glucose. However, when the insulin becomes less effective, you need £2 of insulin to get the same effect. And over time, that will keep increasing until the pancreas cannot make any more pound coins to it just gets overwhelmed. The pancreas is the factory, and that goes, and then all the factory workers just, they die from exhaustion because it's too much for the body just to keep doing that. So the pancreas just shuts down, had enough, and it's burnt out, and it becomes intolerant to carbohydrates. It becomes intolerant to that issue. So what happens is, so in the beginning, this takes 10 to 20 years. In the beginning, you don't feel it really. You got the insulin, more insulin comes in, but your blood sugar is still managed even with the extra insulin, with £10 of insulin. But once it burns out, it stops working completely, and then the blood sugar goes really really high, and it's so damaging for you. And that's what happens with insulin resistance. This takes like 10 to 20 years to occur. But the thing is, there's more nuances to it. So it's not just cutting out the sugars and carbs. You've got to get your stress down. So stress, a lot of people walk around stressed in their fight or flight mode. So they're running from a wild animal constantly throughout the day, which is catabolic and breaks the body down. We're designed to do that for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, and we'll be done with that. But people live in this chronic state of fight or flight, or freeze response. Don't know what they've added freeze in the later years of this thing. I don't know why, but I guess it's true as well, isn't it? So they're chronically in that state, and then they cannot get out of that because they're so used to it. The body's so used to it. It's been taught to behave in that way, and that's not good. So that's one of the issues, and that spikes your blood sugar as well without even eating sugar, because it breaks down some protein, rushes it into the bloodstream, and that provides the body with more energy. That's what happens. So it still can spike your blood sugar and contribute to insulin resistance. If you have allergies or histamine response to certain foods that you are not tolerant to, that you're not aware, so that can also have that blood sugar spike where it breaks down proteins of its own, turns into glucose and spikes the blood sugar. If you're stressed, if you're not sleeping right, that causes the stress response as well. Also, it can be so it's a lot. Exposure to chemicals can have a reaction on your wrist, on your arm, and you can have that stress response as well again. So it can happen again from that. Also, if you exercise too intensely for your body, you still can have that stress response where the body will just go and break down itself. So it's called the hypothalamic pituitary response, not adrenal axis. Hypothalamic pituitary. Why isn't it working? It's not coming out today. Hypothalamic pituitary adrenal response, and that is what the stress response is. When the body is stressed, it goes through the hypothalamus, pituitary, and that gets the adrenal, and the thyroid involved as well. But just to keep short, the adrenals get involved, and this causes a stress response. So that's what it's called. So the next part is that's one of the reasons why you can't lose weight, even though you're calorie counting, and you're not you think you're doing calorie counting, you're doing everything, exercising, but there's more to it. So the next one is you don't have to exercise. So this is number 3. Don't exercise. Is not necessary for weight loss. So a lot of people think, you know, they exercise and they burn fat, but again, you can be burning protein. So you want to be doing cardio and stuff to be fit, and weightlifting to be fit. But we don't. It's not necessary for weight loss. You should be able to maintain your weight without going to the gym like an army, like you know, like a crazy. So we need to. That is good for the what's that? Not working today. It's good for the fitness of your body, but we don't need it for weight loss. So it can be a bit sounds counterintuitive. It sounds contradictory, but when you actually understand how it works, it isn't. And yeah. And the 4th one is going to be endocrine disruptors. So now we are exposed to a lot of endocrine disruptors. So these can be found in a lot of places. So in your tap water, in plastic, clothes, not, you know, made from natural materials, in your items that you buy, in your plastic bottles, and and a lot of other things. In processed foods, in your frying pans, that's Talfan. In just a lot of things that you ingest. And the problem with these certain pharmaceuticals as well, pharmaceuticals. And the problem with this is that it causes so a lot of these materials in the environment, these artificial, newly created materials, act as endocrine disruptors. What does this mean? It means that these chemicals, they're not estrogens, but the body recognises them as an estrogen. And what happens is they go into the receptor and start doing what those hormones do, what they do naturally in excess. So a lot of them act as estrogen endocrine disruptors, and they act as estrogen. And when they get into the receptor, they cause the body to store more fat from the food you eat and burn less. And obviously the body is not just about the calories. Again, back to point number 1 or 2. It's not about the calories, because it implies that your body is going at a fixed rate. It's going at a fixed rate. Your metabolism's fixed, and it's going at that rate. And if you're this high, blah blah, and you burn that much, and it doesn't make sense, because the body can adjust. It can slow down the metabolism. It can slow it down, or we can burn higher percentage energy this time from protein instead of fat, because so it's a lot more to it than just being this fixed rate that you burn. It doesn't make sense. It's more to do with your endocrine system. So if you're really struggling to lose weight, it's more to do with your endocrine system. You could be ingesting a lot of these endocrine disruptors, making you store more fat in the body. You might be insulin resistant as well, without knowing it. You might be running around like you're in fight or flight all day long, which is doing it. You might be reacting to certain things that you put on your skin or that you ingest, which is spiking blood sugar. And when you spike blood sugar, you cannot burn fat, because in the blood, when your blood sugar is high, insulin will come. It will come and grab everything out of the bloodstream and store it as fat, especially if you're insulin resistant. So you have to keep that in mind. So if your blood sugar is high, you will not lose weight. And also if you're eating too much sugar and it's spiking too much, and you're losing that ability to control your blood sugar. So you have to come back and really try and manage your blood sugar. So you don't try and manage it, so you keep it nice and steady, rather than going up really big spikes in energy and feel like you're going to sleep in the afternoon and then back up. And that I hope this is clear, and that is reasons why you may have trouble losing weight and you're following the government guidelines and I'm counting all my calories and I'm doing my exercise and I can't lose weight. And it's a lot more to it than just counting calories. The body doesn't work like that. It's a lot more to it. It's too simplistic. The body can adjust. If you got an undirected thyroid, you could be exercising more but gaining weight. It doesn't make sense. If your thyroid if it goes slow, and you're eating the same, you're going to gain weight because the way the body manages those calories has changed. It's not that these calories have come from thin air that people imply that it's from thin air. What do they say now? You can't get calories from thin air. You can't get calories from thin air. It's not that it comes from thin air. It's just that the way your body manages it, what it's going to burn, what it's going to store has changed. And that is why we need to look into these things. And that's the end of the video. I hope it's been helpful. I know it can be quite deep and it's a bit much for people, but that's the end of the video. I hope this helps. I do consultations, so I do nutritional consultations with low carb and ketogenic diet plans, but I have to do it with people because everyone's quite individualistic, and they will need a different approach with getting into these diets because they all come from a different background they're all in a different state and they all come from a different background with different levels of damage or issues going on. So if you'd like to book a consultation, I do them online. I do it for video call or in person if the person's close enough. And I hope this helps, and thank you for watching, and see you soon, and I'm out.